everyone, I'm Aisyah.
Hello everyone, I'm Adilah.
And hi, I'm Munirah.
Hi, this is Husna.
In this presentation, we will learn about one of the most influential politeness theories, which was invented by Brown and Levinson. It was widely known as Brown and Levinson's politeness theory. In this theory, they introduced the concept of face, which they borrowed from the sociologist Kaufman. We will also explain the face-threatening acts and how they relate to the politeness in taking responses. Lastly, we will show the politeness strategies that consist of two elements, which are positive and negative. Without further ado, let's jump straight to the concept of face. In understanding politeness, we need to acknowledge the gist of it, which is the concept of face and rationality. So, face can be determined as the identity or impression that people want to claim for themselves. It emphasizes the way people want to be seen in certain ways or perspectives. In a conversation, people are free to choose their own words, body language, and tone of speaking, and our way of conversation also depends on who we interact with. These elements allow other people to evaluate and assume the personalities that we embody. When applying this concept, the communicator is expected to demonstrate two intentions, either to be hindered as in negative face or to be approved, known as positive face, since this face can affect the responses we receive from other interactors too. So this concept goes along with the rationality. People wear the face for reasons and rational purposes in communicating. This rationality is measured by several factors as it can be influenced by the speaker's situation, emotions, and the people they converse with. Rationality can differ for each person depending on the way they balance it with toleration. It is important to ensure that the concept of face and rationality coexist. When it is applied together, it will create linguistic behavior that would lead to two politeness inferences which are positive and negative. Politeness can appear in many forms, such as praises when we did a good work and complaints due to our bad behavior. Sometimes, our politeness can change when we were experiencing.
Did you know? Face-threatening acts, or we short form it as FTAs, refers to any speech act, verbal or non-verbal, that goes against the wishes of the other person and has the potential to damage the hearer's self-image, making them feel embarrassed, pressured, or uncomfortable. In Brown and Levinson's model, there are two politeness used when a speaker performs FTAs, which are positive and negative politeness. Positive politeness aims to reduce the threat by appealing to closeness. This includes giving compliments, showing friendliness, or expressing solidarity. Meanwhile, negative politeness protects the hearer's need for personal space and freedom from pressure. The person will probably use indirectness, use hedges like the word maybe or I think in their sentence, minimize the imposition, show deference, or apologize in order to help soften the threat. There are 5 options available for speaker to choose when they need to do FTA. So we begin with a basic question. Should the speaker perform the FTA or not? If the speaker chooses to do the FTA, the following option relates to how the act will be carried out. So we divide this into 2 main branches. If the speaker chooses the first branch, which is on-record politeness, he will likely to express his intention directly and clearly. This can be done in 2 ways. If the speaker chooses option 1, which is done without regressive action and boldly, the speaker would perform the act directly with no politeness. This may sound rude because the hearer's face is not protected, but this option is considered efficient. However, if the speaker wants to be direct but also soften the potential threat, he can apply politeness strategies. He can choose option 2, positive, if the person intended to use friendliness, solidarity, or compliments to reduce the threat and make the hearer feel understood. If he didn't want to use option 2, he can choose option 3, negative, where the speaker expressed their difference, apologize, or use indirectness to avoid being pushy and respect the hearer wish not to being imposed on. If the speaker doesn't want to use the first branch, they can perform the second branch or option 4, off record. Here, the speaker uses indirect speech to hint what they want instead of stating indirectly for the hearer to interpret the meaning in any ways. But if the speaker wants to pick the safest option, he has option 5, not to do the FTA, which the speaker would remain silent and say nothing.
Now, I will explain about positive politeness. Positive politeness is a communication strategy used to show friendliness, connection, and a sense of belonging between the speaker and the listener. When we use positive politeness, we create a warm and comfortable interaction that helps reduce social distance. According to Brown and Levinson, speakers choose different types of positive politeness depending on the seriousness of the situation and the relationship between the people involved. For example, how close they are or who has more power. The purpose of positive politeness is mainly to make the listener feel valued, appreciated, and respected. It also helps build harmony, reduce distance between the speaker and listener, and create a more welcoming environment in communication. There are 15 strategies of positive politeness. I will mention a couple that are not in my example slide. One of them is seeking agreement, where the speaker tries to find common views to build harmony. Another strategy is being optimistic, where the speaker expresses confidence that the listener will cooperate. These strategies help maintain closeness and reduce potential conflict in conversation. Here are the examples from the strategies shown on the slide. Strategy 1, notice the hearer. This means showing that you pay attention to something about the listener. For example, goodness, you cut your hair. Strategy 2, exaggerate. This uses enthusiastic tone or strong expressions to show approval. For example, what a fantastic garden you have. Strategy 4, use in group identity markers. This means using friendly terms to signal closeness. For example, help me with this bag, will you, Paul? Strategy 9, show knowledge of the hearer's wants. This is when the speaker shows awareness of what the listener needs. For example, I know you want the card back by 5, so shall I go now?
Strategy 12. Include both speaker and hearer. This strategy creates unity by using we or suggesting activities together. For example, let's stop for a bite. These examples show how positive politeness helps build a friendlier and more supportive interaction. In conclusion, positive politeness is an effective way to create warmth and reduce distance in communication. That's all for positive politeness. Let's move on to the negative politeness.
Negative politeness strategies are techniques speakers use to show respect, maintain distance, and avoid making the listener feel pressured or uncomfortable. According to Brown and Levinson, these strategies are especially important when performing face-threatening act, where someone's self-image could be challenged or a request might cause inconvenience or embarrassment. Speakers choose different strategies based on how serious the situation is, as well as the level of social distance and power between the speaker and the hearer. Levinson outlined 10 key negative politeness strategies that speakers use to show respect and avoid imposing on others. First, a speaker can be conventionally indirect, such as hinting at what they want instead of saying it directly. Second, they may question or hedge, using phrases like maybe or I was wondering to soften the message. Third, being pessimistic allows the speaker to assume the listener may not agree, which makes the request sound less forceful. Next, minimizing the imposition helps reduce how big the request sounds. Another strategy is giving deference, where the speaker shows respect or acknowledge the listener's higher status. Apologizing is also common, especially before asking for something. Speakers can also avoid using I or you to make the message feel less personal, or they can present the request as a general rule instead of something targeted. Nominalizations, which means turning action into nouns, helps make the statement sound more formal and also less direct. Finally, the speaker may go on record by acknowledging a debt or assuring the listener that they won't be burdened. All these strategies work together to reduce pressure and to protect the listener's negative. Some common negative politeness strategies can be seen through everyday expressions. For example, being conventionally indirect sounds like, won't you come in? While questioning or hedging appears in phrases like, I suppose Harry is coming. A speaker can also be pessimistic, saying, I don't imagine there will be any chance of you. To minimize imposition, they might say, I just want to ask if I can borrow a little paper. Sometimes the speakers avoid personal pronouns, as in, it is regretted that. And finally, going on a record as incurring a debt sounds like, I'll be eternally grateful if you could. This example shows how speakers soften requests and protect the listener's negative. In conclusion, Brown and Levinson's politeness theory shows how communication helps protect relationships. Speakers choose how to perform face-threatening acts in a way that reduces embarrassment or discomfort. Positive politeness creates closeness and appreciation, while negative politeness maintains respect and distance by being indirect and cautious. Together, both strategies help preserve the listener's public image and keep interactions smooth and harmonious.